Hello and welcome to another lesson in managing Server 2003. Today I'm going to show you how to set up and activate a new scope for your DHCP server. A DHCP service requires a group of IP addresses to pull from that will not be used anywhere else. When a PC in the domain starts up, it will request an IP address from a DHCP server. The DHCP server will then lease an address from its pool to the PC requesting an IP. All right, let's see how that's done. We go over to the Start menu and open up Administrative Tools and open up DHCP. First thing we'll do is we'll select the server that we want to create a new scope on, and then we go to Action, select New Scope, and this brings us into the New Scope wizard. Click on Next, and let's give it a name. We'll call it New York. How about that? If I can spell it. And a description, we'll say it's the New York HR computers in the HR department in New York. Okay, we'll give it a starting address. we'll call it 192.168.1 and say 50. And we'll give the pool an ending IP address, 192.168.1, let's say 100. Okay, that's 50 computers. That's 50 different addresses it can pull from. And we'll just assume that's more than enough. Give us room for expansion if necessary. Click on Next. Now, you can add exclusions. In other words, within your range, for example, say you have some static addresses that are present. You would want to exclude those addresses from being distributed in the dynamic DHCP environment. So let's say our first one is a static address used somewhere. Say it's a gateway. We can exclude a single address doing this, or we can exclude a range of addresses if we wanted to. But for the moment, we'll just say we're just going to exclude one. All right, and then we go Next. Lease duration, how long do you want this computer to have this lease? 8 days is the default, and we'll just go with the default unless you have reason to change it. And then configure DHCP options. We can configure these options now. For example, when a clients obtain an address, they are given a DHCP option such as an IP address of routers like default gateways, DNS servers, and WIN settings for that scope. The settings you select here are for this scope, and override settings configured in the server options folder. So let's go ahead and we'll just take a look at them anyway. To add an IP address for a router used by clients, enter the address below. We'll call this like the default gateway that we referred to earlier, that we did not want handed out, and we'll say that is going to be our default gateway. Domain name and DNS servers, we're not going to look at that at the moment, but you can specify parent domain you want the client computers on your network to use for DNS name resolution. We're not really concerned with that at the moment. Any WIN servers, to convert NetBIOS computer names to an IP address, we're just going to ignore that for the moment. And then you have to activate your scope. Once you've specified the range, in order for it to be functional, you have to activate it. So we will go yes on that. And we have completed now the new scope wizard. We click Finish. And you can see up here now we have a new scope, which is New York, and the status is active. We could expand that, and we can see that with every scope you're going to have an address pool. There's our address pool, 50 to 100, and the one address that we excluded. You can have address. You can show your address leases. Nothing has been leased out at this point. You can actually make reservations. Somewhat like an exclusion, but you can reserve an IP address for a particular PC every time it boots. Scope options, again, we're not going to mess with that too much, but that's basically your DHCP scope and setting a new scope. Thank you for listening to this lesson on Managing Server 2003.